Good afternoon. I'm Taylor Combaluzier, a mining analyst at Red Cloud Securities. We'd like to extend our thanks to Pear Tree for sponsoring this session. Our next presenters are Alex Klenman, who's the CEO, and Trevor Perkins, VP Exploration of Azincourt Energy Corp. Azincourt is an exploration and development company that is currently focused on developing its East Preston uranium project in the Athabasca Basin, as well as its other assets in the Athabasca Basin. Alex and Trevor, you have 15 minutes for the presentation and then a 5-minute Q&A session at the end. Please take it away.
Thank you, Taylor, and thank you for any and all viewers who are with us today. Obviously, we're Azincourt Energy, and since we're on a really tight timeline, we're going to do an accelerated presentation. We're going to concentrate on a couple of slides that are relevant to what we're doing today at East Preston. So there's a disclaimer. Obviously, the most important thing is this information. Everything technical in this presentation has been reviewed and approved by Trevor, our QP. And I assume everybody understands macros and why the space is relevant today. So we'll go through all of that. I'm the president, CEO, and director, one of the directors of the company. I came on board in July of 2017. Trevor joined us in 2020. We needed to find a VP exploration who was engaged and who has previous discovery success, and Trevor meets that in spades. We have a great technical advisory team. Ted and Paul are directors, both geologists, and Vivian, our CFO. Everybody knows the industry overview, why the uranium market is hot and where we're headed with supply-demand scenarios and other macro factors. Azincourt has 3 projects. We're going to focus mainly on East Preston today, a little bit on Hatchet Lake. We're going to skip over through as it's third on our list of priorities. East Preston is a 25,000 hectare project in the Western Athabasca. We have almost a 14,000 hectare project in the northeastern section that we're earning 75% interest in from Valor Metals. And obviously everybody knows the Athabasca and why it's the place to be, ground zero for uranium deposition and production. Huge high-grade deposits, production history of going back at least 4 decades, and obviously a stable political climate in Canada. And in our neighborhood in the Western Athabasca, we have billions in market cap surrounding us, NextGen, Orano, others in the neighborhood, deposits in the neighborhood of note. You know, got Patterson Lake South, Arrow, Spitfire, all in the neighborhood. So a really good area to be, and certainly a high rent district for a small cap like Azincourt. We've earned a 72% interest through the bear market from 2017 to now. We now control over 70% of East Preston, which is a great thing for us. It's in a very active area between ourselves and Orano next door. We've spent north of 10 million in the area on project development. Through our portion of that in East Preston, we've been able to delineate almost 30 kilometers worth of trend. I'll let Trevor carry the next couple of slides. So go ahead, Trevor, you can get into the technical stuff.
All right, thank you, Alex. So we'll start with our East Preston project here. So we've been operating this project. Azincourt has been involved since 2017. The project's been in existence since about 2014. We initially started with airborne surveys over the project, of course, to identify conductive corridors. And the reason we focus on these conductive corridors is the majority of unconformity uranium deposits, especially in the basin, are associated with basement conductive packages. Next slide, Alex. So once we've identified the conductive package, we then move in on the ground. We do ground-based EM and gravity surveys to identify exactly where the conductor is within the package. And then the gravity shows us if there's potential structures associated with that conductor. So we want to see where a conductor and a gravity anomaly coincide to help us focus in on an area. Next slide, Alex. And as you can see from this slide, the East Preston corridor, or the East Preston project, has a main structural conductive corridor through the center of the project. And to the west of that, we have several parallel trends, which we haven't even touched yet. And to the east, we have a few bullseye style trends, which will require attention at some point in the future as well. So no shortage of targets on the property. Next slide, Alex. So focusing in on the main conductive corridor, prior to this year, 24 holes have been completed on the project, dominantly in the A and AB zones with a couple of holes in the G zone. This drilling indicated we have good lithologies, good structure, and we're starting to see the alteration we were looking for. We've also got elevated base metals, and so we're ticking all the boxes. We know we've got what we need to see. Next slide, Alex. So last year, we ran in a shorter than expected program because of warm weather and forcing us to get out early. But we did manage to complete 5 holes on the A and the AB zone and the very north end of the G zone. The southern 3 holes on this program showed us that we had elevated uranium in the area, and we're talking 2 to 3 times our normal background values. So it was something worth taking note of and keeping our interest in the area. So then we moved on to this year. Next slide, Alex. So this year, we started in the G zone where last year's program left off. We're currently in the middle of running our largest program on the property to date. The plan is for approximately 6,000 meters in 30 drill holes. As of the end of February, we're sitting at 3,208 meters in 13 holes, focused on the G zone and the K zone. As I mentioned, we started drilling on the G zone. Now this map just shows the holes that we have been working on so far this year. But in the G zone, where we started, as we moved south, we noted very quickly we're seeing our good lithologies. Alteration was starting to pick up. Then when we hit around hole EP30, which is at almost near the bottom of G zone where Alex is highlighting there, we get into an area of strong hydrothermal alteration with evidence of near vertical east-west structures cutting across our normal northeast trending structural package. So, we're excited now. We're seeing hydrothermal hematite in the basement rocks with 2 intersecting structures. The drilling to the south still showed a little bit of alteration, but we're now doing more focused drilling in and around hole 30 to show us exactly what is happening with this alteration and structural intersection. So moving on to the K zone, we have 4 holes on the K zone so far. The northernmost hole we weren't able to finish because it was lost in really broken up bad ground in a fault zone, but we will be trying to complete a hole in that area in the near future on this as part of this program. But of note here is that we do have 4 holes. All 4 holes are showing us good, strong hydrothermal alteration with hematite and localized clay coming into the system, which are the types of things we need to see to show us we're getting close to something, that we may be onto something here. And of note is hole 35 in this system, or in this trend. 35 has now turned out to be the best hole on the property so far. Now we're talking, we've got a thick hydrothermal alteration package extending a few hundred meters into the basement. We actually doubled the length of this drill hole trying to get through the alteration package. Follow-up drilling to that has shown that we continue to have this nice hydrothermal alteration. Our alteration trend here now is 800 meters long and a couple of 100 meters thick. We have not completely got through the alteration system yet. We've seen it starting to drop off because we're repositioning some of the follow-up drilling to fully evaluate the system. The biggest feature to come out of hole 35 so far is we've intersected elevated radioactivity. Now we're talking radioactivity that is 10 times above our normal expected background values. So we're really excited about what's happening in this area, but we will await assay samples coming out of these zones to show us exactly what we're dealing with. But we're excited enough that we're deepening drill holes. We're reevaluating where we're putting our drill holes. So the initial plan to drill 30 holes may or may not happen because we're drilling deeper in individual holes. So the number of holes may be less, but we're still going to accomplish our meterage. And we may not get the H and Q zones adequately tested as we had initially planned, because we want to fully evaluate what we're seeing on K zone before we move on. So we're really excited about where things are going. Now, moving on to our Hatchet Lake project, which is our other project of interest in the basin. If you could go to the next slide. Oh, there we go, Alex. We just picked up this project in November. We signed an option agreement with Valor Metals to earn up to 75% in this 13,000 hectare project on the eastern side of the basin, just outside the basin margin. So we're very excited about this as well. We're on the major structural corridor that runs up the east side of the basin from Key Lake up through to where we are. This structural corridor hosts all of the major producing mines in Canada right now and a lot of the major deposits in the basin. Next slide, Alex. So this area has seen extensive work in the 60s and 70s prior to the focus being turned onto the basin once the major deposits were found in the basin. But recently, with the interest outside the basin again, it has started to see some work again more recently. So previous operators of this project were Gulf Minerals, Saskatchewan Mining and Development Corporation, and then more recently Hathor and Rio Tinto before Valor became involved in the project. And this project has had the whole suite of geophysics, sampling, a few diamond drill holes. So it has seen the full gamut. Next slide, Alex. Two main areas have been highlighted on this property, our Southwest Scrimes Zone and the Upper Manson Zone. Now, all the red dots on this map you can see are where various samples have been taken. And these samples are indicating we've got uranium showings, we've got radioactive boulders, with one boulder even returning just under 2.5% uranium. So we're very excited that we will be able to find a source for that boulder on this property and trace some of the other radioactive boulders to their sources on the property as well. This property has had everything done to it. It just needs to be drilled now.
Drill ready.
Turn it back over to you, Alex.
Thank you. We won't go through the Peruvian projects. No time for that today. They're the number 3 on our priority list. Address our capital structure real quick. We have a lot of shares out, which is a mark of being around a long time in this space. We've been forced over a period of years to do equity financings in a bear market, but we're here today. We've earned our JV through that bear. We're well funded. We've got north of 10 million in the bank. We've got 30% of our floats held by institutional funds. We have more than 20 different funds as investors, which is extremely rare for a pre-discovery drill company. And that's basically what we are. We're in drill stage. We haven't made the big find yet. We have that level of institutional support, which is quite rare. We've raised approximately 15 million in the last 18 months. And the majority of that's obviously come from institutional funds. So obviously they like the sector, but more importantly, it validates prospectivity of East Preston in particular. And we're happy that we're well funded and well supported. Insiders, close associates, family and friends on another 20%. So we're in a good position to continue to develop these projects. We've got plenty of cash on hand, and we're looking forward to continuing to drill into the K zone. We didn't mention it, but chasing alteration in the Athabasca is a surefire way of finding deposits. I mean, if you're going to chase alteration, you can find deposits. It's probably the best way to say it. So we're happy about the alteration we're seeing, and we're continue to drill into it and chase that radioactivity and chase the alteration in the hematite and the clay. So, that's a very quick overview of what we're doing, and we'll hand it back to Taylor to get us through the next phase. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much for a great presentation, Alex and Trevor. Just a reminder to all our viewers that you can submit questions using the Q&A button on the platform. With that, we do have some that have come in here. So first one, it says it's for Trevor. You guys recently intersected a 100-meter hydrothermal hematite alteration. from the viewer's perspective, it looks abnormal. Do you perceive it as a positive or negative, and why?
Definitely a positive. When you're seeing hydrothermal alteration in the system, it tells you you've got the right fluids in the area, especially with the hematite in the fluids. We're seeing the fluids that should be carrying uranium. We just have to find where they're dropping it out now.
Good answer.
Great. Does it worry you that the current completed drill holes on G zone don't show elevated radioactivity levels like the one hole in K zone, even though both have the same alteration?
No, it doesn't. It does not worry us at this point. I mean, some of these systems can be very tight and very close spaced, so you'll have to be a lot closer to the deposit before you can actually see the radioactivity itself increase. The alteration acts like a large halo around the deposits and helps vector you in towards it. So it's normal to see the alteration before you see the radioactivity.
Yeah, and I wouldn't worry too much about. I mean, the project is massive in terms of how much ground we have to drill and how much ground we have to cover. So, incrementally speaking, all of the results to date keep pushing us closer and closer to the desired goal.
Okay, great. So we do have a couple minutes. I know you had to kind of rush through the presentation.
Yeah.
A little. I don't know if you have any anything you would like to mention on Peru. I know that's something that you omitted.
Yeah, no, Peru, it's a great project. There's no doubt about that. COVID challenges getting back to Peru. There's some difference in geopolitical situations, obviously, between Canada and Peru. And Peru, we like the lithium upside at Peru, but it's turned out so far, the little work that we've done, to be quite prospective for uranium. So we're, now that we're seeing what's going on at East Preston and we're drilling into these really hot areas and beginning to see super success in the drills, I just don't see us really spending much money and time down in Peru. It might be different if we weren't drilling into alteration and seeing 10 times background radioactivity. We do believe that uranium is the source of that radioactivity. At to what degree, we'll find out when the assays come in. But we're really optimistic. These are very positive developments. It's kind of hard to allocate funds at this point to Peru.
Right. Okay. I think again, question here. Just wondering what was the total? Have you outlined kind of the total that you're looking to drill meterage at Preston, East Preston?
Yeah, it's in the neighborhood of 6,000. We're likely going to go over budget this year for good reasons. We're drilling deeper holes. You don't drill deeper if things aren't going well, and you don't alter drill pad locations the way we have if things aren't going well. So we're happy to spend a little bit more money and drill a little bit more. And funny, everybody worry about warm weather. I'll tell you what, extreme cold weather has negative effects as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've got increased fuel consumption. We've had water line issues. The crew's doing a fantastic job navigating all of these things, but that adds cost to the overall budget. So most of the fear in the retail sector for us has been get in there and get out before the warm weather. Careful what you wish for. When you get minus 50, things change too, and it's going to cost you a little bit more money.
Right. And going into this year, I know kind of last year, basically everybody was struggling with the labs and getting regular drill results. Is that something that has a better outlook from your perspective?
Yeah, and Trevor took care of that by getting some of our, especially hole 35, getting some of those samples back to the lab this week. So we think we're trying to beat the rush and get ahead of the game. It's about a 6-week turnaround, and we're happy that at least the best hole to date is on its way to the lab. So maybe about 6 weeks before we see the full suite analysis as to what's going on in that hole. But we're happy. We want to drill more holes like 35, and it looks like we're doing that in 36. So let's see what that zone has to give.